welcome back to The Voice Cast. Here we are, season 2, episode 4. Last time I messed up. I said the wrong number, and Scroll wouldn't let me forget it, so I'm saying it right now.
Shout out.
Here we are, live at the grill. Last time we were at the Scoop, and we just wanted to let you guys know that the grill is good.
It's popping.
It is working. It is, being all grilly and stuff. The menu's still there. In this week's episode of The Voice Cast, we have cast. We love The Voice Cast.
I'm a horse or a cow, one of the two.
We have a horse. His name is Pastor Jason.
I'll be your neighbor. All right, hello all Voice World people.
And then, like always, we have Kaimana.
Hello.
Here we go. We are in quarantine conversations. Let me ask you guys a question. What do you like better, pizza in a square or in a triangle?
Triangle. I feel like it's supposed to be in a triangle, but my favorite pizza ever is like the thin crust at this specific place, and they cut it into squares.
Oh,
but
it's
if
like
I
a
had
restaurant
to do,
not frozen?
Yeah,
Is
it's
that
like it's this.
CC's Pizza.
It's this local restaurant, CC's.
Yes.
No,
Like,
it's
that's
this
the only
like
place I
pizza
know that did
place
that.
in Mount Carroll, Illinois. It's like a town no one's been to, but it's so good, and it's like thin crust, so they do it in the squares.
I don't know. I thought about this question. I
prayed
think
about
that-
it?
I prayed about it. I sought the Lord.
Don't say the
and
wrong
I
answer.
think I think I'm gonna go with the triangle.
Wow.
I think I'm going with the
Two
triangle.
for the triangle.
Because I'm from Bermuda, and so I like that. My pizza, like the place I get lost at sea. I like those two things together. 3-hour
I
tour.
feel like when I think, I guess I like no. What is this?
I call that a triangle.
Square. I think I like triangle pizza, but
Yeah.
because every time I think about the rectangle or the like square pizza, I think of like cafeteria pizza.
Ew, no.
Ooh,
That
there
But I
it
think I
is.
would eat it like a fine, but that's
Nope.
where my mind goes to.
You know, I had that recently
worst
at some
kind.
school I was
Cafeteria
doing
pizza?
a thing at, and I was like, this is the worst.
It is the
and
worst.
it used to be the best.
Yeah, it was delicious.
That should be the next conversation. Things that are the worst that you used to think were the best.
Pizza
We'll be
day
right
at
back.
cafeteria.
That's
When it
kinda
was
what we're
pizza,
talking about
everyone would
today.
like get it.
For real. Like everyone was like that. And then there were certain pizzas that had pepperoni on it and you used to like it.
I can eat pepperoni and
lot
like
of-
everything in pizza, but as a whole, when you get regular at Pizza Hut pizza, I have to have it plain.
Yes. Now, have you ever had deep
I like
dish?
just cheese pizza.
Yeah.
Like Chicago?
In Chicago.
In Chicago, yeah.
Chicago. It's too much.
It's a
I
lot.
can't
You
remember.
can only have about this much of it.
It's not even like pizza. It's like
Oval.
a cheesecake.
They serve it in the shape of an
I
oval.
could have this much of it.
Uh-huh.
Yeah, you love it.
Okay. Would you rather be a pirate or a ninja?
I'm going to go with ninja
Why?
because they're cleaner.
Yeah.
They
Why
are
are you
clean-
looking at me?
Okay, because I've been
I
wanting
agree,
you to
but-
bathe for a long time since. No, like think of a pirate in your mind, and
Okay.
all you think of is just grubby old men on a boat. Like if you think of a ninja, you think of like
Clean.
samurai, clean,
soap.
like
Clean
it's
old
so
men.
clean.
Purell?
Yeah, they just look cleaner to me. They don't have beards.
That was your logic?
They-
Pirate
okay.
or ninja? It's whoever
I feel like ninjas
bathes
have
more?
beards.
Well,
They
I
just
mean, I
cover
want to be a
them.
clean man in the midst of this pandemic.
That's true.
Okay, but no, like if you think of a pirate, they have horrible speech and they're really not good at fighting. They can't even
They
keep an
always
eye.
drink rum.
Okay, they drink rum. Okay, and we don't deal with that. And then like I think pirates are the worst, and that is why I have
gosh.
decided.
Zion loves pirate church, though.
He loves pirate church, but he loves church more than he loves pirates.
Wow, that's really the point of
We'll
it
be
all.
right back.
That's what it all comes down to.
No,
I
yeah.
want to
So
be a ninja too, though.
I think
Why?
ninjas are
But
gangster.
I am like
But you're kind of-
Asian.
yeah.
See?
Ninjas know like karate. I kind of know karate. I forgot it a little bit.
So you're a ninja.
Yeah,
Yeah.
but I feel like it makes sense.
Yeah, so think about this. If you were going to hire an assassin, which I have not done.
Okay, but we're talking about real pirates, like bad,
Yeah,
like
right?
pirates that like take over cruise ships. No, like there's like Johnny Depp pirate, but then there's like Captain Morgan. What is it? The guy from the Tom Hanks movie where they actually take over
yes.
ships.
Well, I
Like
didn't
those
see
are
that.
real pirates
Yeah.
that like from Somalia and they like
Yes.
kill you.
They took over the
That's
boat
bad.
and the SEAL team took them out and stuff
I
like
have
that.
no idea.
Yeah, it's a true
Captain,
story.
I
Tom
I don't think
Hanks.
I saw it.
I'm the captain of this ship now.
Look at me. I'm the captain now.
Yeah,
that one.
whatever
yeah,
that movie
I can do
was.
that. I can do that.
I'm the captain now.
But for real, if you were going to hire an assassin,
Look at
would
me.
you go, hey, listen, there's a pirate outside my door and he's threatening your life. He doesn't have a leg or an eye, but I'm really scared. Or would you think there's a ninja who you can't even see,
Why are you
but then you're
hiring
dead?
an assassin?
I'm just saying.
Okay.
These are the things I think about at night. Welcome to The Voice.
I feel like I don't know. I don't know which one I guess I would just pick a pirate just because you guys are so into the ninja thing. So just my natural
Grubby
rebellion.
old men
like
with
Johnny Depp,
beards.
he's rich. They have nice jewelry. They're like, arg. They always have a lot of treasure
Johnny
and
Depp
gold.
isn't
I want to be
real.
rich.
They always have fun. Johnny
They're
Depp
on
is
boats.
I mean, I guess he's real.
He's real.
Or does he know that he's real? Because he has a British accent now.
They like take over things, but ninjas are cool too. Okay,
I hate 'em.
bottled water or regular water?
I don't care. Both. I love water.
It all tastes the same.
Yeah.
They're all tasty
I
the
like
same.
tap water on ice
Okay.
with a twist
With a twist
with
of
a
Corona.
twist of iron.
on the rocks.
Yes. Amen.
And then I like bottled water just as it is. No refrigeration.
I think I'm a bottled water man. It depends on if the water, like I don't drink tap water at home. I have to filter it, right? Do you do that?
I don't know what you
Am I
do.
the only one?
I get it from my fridge.
Oh yeah, the fridge, the fidget spinner bridge. Yeah, I'm a bottled water
Is
man.
it like with the ice and with the water?
You know, like I have to load up on the
Is
ice.
it a new fridge?
It's not like too new.
She's not gonna be able to make it.
I'm
But
not
at
gonna
the
make
moment, Cash, she's already crying.
This
Your
is
eyes,
not-
careful.
It's not too new. I know. I can't help it. I
Sorry.
didn't have like Corona down my face.
Ugh.
It's not too new.
Because some of them have automatic filters. There's a certain
Oh,
kind
yeah,
of filter,
I
but
think
some of them
that's-
have like Brita or whatever
Yeah.
It
fancy
does have
filters.
a filter. Yeah, you have to change every now and then.
I think they all taste the same. I don't taste a difference with Dasani or Fiji
Yeah.
or tap water. Like I just think it's whatever. It all tastes the
Yeah.
same to me.
Yep.
But
tastes
someone's
like
gonna go, well, you
I
don't
feel
drink a lot of
bougie
water.
with
I feel like
a
I do.
bottled water though.
I
worth it.
wanted water and I couldn't find a glass.
Look, see
so.
there.
I know, but my dentist said
But
that
that's
we
Roxanne.
should all drink tap water more because we're not getting enough.
Minerals.
No. Oh my gosh, what is the one thing
Calcium?
that it's on our water that is not fluoride? It's not in
Fluoride.
like Europe's water, whatever.
Tea-dazzle.
So our teeth are getting mixed
Yeah.
up because we keep doing this instead of drinking tap water.
Interesting. You know
Well,
that's
Because we need
drinking it.
fluoride.
That's funny
We're gonna-
'cause
teeth are
Tap
gonna be
water
black.
from
in,
Florida, though,
in Europe the water is
bad.
incredible. Like
Even just anywhere but Florida.
Right.
In the
But have
north.
you seen-
in New York.
the teeth.
yeah.
They're
pirate
black.
teeth.
You're the one who brought up
teeth.
dentists. So, anyways,
Okay.
drink more fluoride.
On that note, let's go ahead and continue our conversation. This episode is called Classified Information. Dun, dun,
Secret.
dun.
Yep.
So we are about to get raw and open and share some stories that we've never shared before. So let's go right on in. Okay, how are you handling social distancing right now? What's the hardest part was the easiest part. Right now we're in the middle of this pandemic, Corona, and we have to social distance
That's right.
from each other and all this stuff that is going on. How are you handling it? What's hard? What's easy?
I think it's funny because it was only like a month that I had come off maternity leave that we started quarantining. So it's just like being on maternity leave, except the whole world is on it now. Like you just stay home, you do nothing, you take care of your family, your house, your plants, and then you're done. It's fine.
I'm liking the corn. Well, it's hard and not so difficult at the same time. Like, so I love being able to wear a mask. Okay, back to ninjas. Okay, no, but I love
we all
wearing
wear
the mask
masks?
at the grocery store because I'm for the first time like I can go to a grocery store and I know I'm not famous,
frown?
but like I'm like unrecognizable, and I kind of like that for like a few minutes because usually almost every one of my endeavors, because I'm zip code renowned 407, I go somewhere and I'm in a conversation or I can't get in there quick, and then I don't want people to say, because you've had people come up to me and go, I saw you at Publix. Well, where were you? I was in the back aisle underneath a shelf and I saw you and you ignored me, and I'm like, I didn't ignore you, I didn't see you, ninja girl. And so anyway, so I love wearing the mask because I can get in and out. Oh, man, ninja callback all day.
You're a
So no,
celeb.
I love that. I love being anonymous. I think the hardest thing for me though is just when I am around people, just not shaking their hand, not hugging them, and that's been a struggle.
I think it's kind of tough not being able to go where you want to go.
Yeah.
Like you just can't go anywhere. But I do like the fact that I don't have to touch people. See,
gonna
like,
say,
but I
yeah.
haven't worn a mask yet. Lulu brought me some today. Shout out to Lulu. So I probably will start when I go somewhere. But I don't.
Got mine right here, girl.
But like when I see people that I know now, I'm always like, hey. Like I don't mind because I know they're not going to touch me or we can't talk for a long time. So
That
I
is
feel
cool.
kind of like, so I find myself looking for people like, oh, hi. And usually I'm just like
Being so
trying to like
friendly,
laser
and then you're
focus.
like, oh, I gotta go.
No, like I'm
Corona.
way nicer now that I
Wow.
don't have
Just
to
took a
talk to
pandemic
people. I know.
to make
Amen.
you-
Great.
Look at this. God's turning it around.
God turned it for our good.
Okay, social distancing is defined as measures taken to maintain a physical distance between people or increasing the physical space between people. Let me ask you guys this. Have you ever practiced social distancing prior to this coronavirus?
Yeah.
When,
That's all I have to say.
Jason? Tell us about it.
No, yeah. I think especially in relationships, I think we all have we need to social distance ourselves from toxic relationships. So I was thinking about this question, and it's the old cliche: show me your friends, and I'll show you your future. And I couldn't help but think about this thing I read about these three men who grew up together, and the power of just social distancing, and I guess social. What's the antithesis of that?
Social?
Closeness.
Antisocial?
No, social distancing is
No
pushing
distance.
away.
Yes. Pulling
Social
bringing together.
bringing together.
Bringing
Of
together.
bringing
Connection?
together.
An assembly.
Theater. Bring it together. Anyways, but I was thinking about
Social
these
assembly.
three guys. Social assembly of God. So I was thinking about these three guys: Thomas Edison, Harry Firestone, and Henry Ford. They all grew up together, and they were all best friends. And then obviously there are all these influential, great people who've contributed some awesome things to the world, and just the power of just that inner circle of that connection. So yeah, I think I've done that at times. I've social distanced myself from people who are just negative or just not positive in any way, So yeah.
I remember having chicken pox when I was little. I was like the first one to
Aw.
get it from us kids or whatever. And my mom kind of locked us up in all one area so we can all just hurry up and get it. But we weren't allowed to leave the house or go anywhere. And I'm like, I'm itchy. I want to get out of here.
Aw.
But we weren't allowed to leave. So I just remember that being socially distantly broken and sad.
Yeah. I think when I was pregnant, it's funny now, but it's funny.
Okay.
I was really careful to not be around sick people, which, here we are. But I'm not pregnant anymore and it's fine. But I remember if you were to even cough, I'd be like, get away from me.
Yep.
And I feel like I've also done it with just friendships.
Yeah.
Or just even other relationships too, that it's just okay, this isn't the most positive environment. I remember being a freshman at UCF, and I would just kind of hang out with this certain group of people. And I don't know, it just kind of got to the point where I don't know what hit me. Something hit me one day, and I'm like, I just don't want, this is not the life that I want. I just kind of wanted more from God. And I just chose to not hang around or do what these people were doing. I
Yeah.
remember telling my friend, I'm like, hey, I'm probably not going to hang out anymore. And I remember her telling me, she's like, well, she's like, I understand you never really quite fit in with us anyway. And I was like, no, you're right. She
you were
was
like,
proud
no,
of
you're
me.
right. Yeah.
Yeah, I don't know. She was just like, you're doing good. It's so funny because sometimes people friendships, they get mad at you. I'm like, my
Yeah.
friend was like, this is so much
They get it.
better for you
Yeah.
because you never really, this wasn't for you anyway.
Yeah.
And I distanced myself from them. And it was hard, I'm like, but I had to do it.
Yeah.
Okay, here we go. We're about to get nitty gritties. Describe and share your worst breakup in a relationship.
I want to go first because
Okay,
mine's
whoa.
not going to be as cool as everyone else's, so I don't want to go and then go after this one. Because it was really my only breakup, and it was with Gio, so it already sounds dumb. But I was 16. The greatest part of the whole actual breakup was that he drove to my friend's house because I was staying with my friend at the time, and it wasn't even a close, she was a close friend from the past, but we hadn't hung out in months. And I always remember it was July 3rd because I was staying at her house because her family had a July 4th party every year, and we would hang out and set up. So he came, broke up with me, and then I'm went back into her house, and I was like, well, friend, we haven't hung out with in a while. Are you ready to just, for all
Party?
these floodgates? Yeah, and then we hung out all the next day, and I was just like, I'm sad. And it was very, very awkward. So, you're welcome.
Whoa.
That's intense.
That's tough. Now, well, okay.
No, you could ask her because
No,
I was about to ask her.
no.
Well, I don't know.
No, I don't know what you're gonna ask.
What was I
Go
gonna
ahead.
ask?
Ninja.
You first. I'm wearing a
At
mask.
what point? Because everyone right now, I was talking to someone the other day. Someone was like, "I'm like Kaimana." I'm like, "You're not Kaimana."
Nah.
I was like that. Everyone's like, I'm like, no, you're not her. They think that your life is like easy breezy, whatever.
No.
You were 16. How long was it before you guys got back together?
It was like a full year that we didn't talk at all. Like we had no communication except that we
But like
interned
real no
together.
communication.
Yeah,
or,
like we didn't
still
talk at all.
text
I mean,
and,
like we
hung out
literally,
sometime?
we literally interned together. But I just didn't even. He like remembers a specific time, which I don't remember this, but. Because back in Goldenrod we were in the trailer, so like we always had to pass each other and all stuff. And like it was me that didn't talk to him. Like I refused. Like he tried to like, maybe I made a mistake, and I was like, yeah, you did, a big one, huge. Like I was being Julia Roberts.
Yes.
But then I was just like, that's too bad. Mistakes, shouldn't make them. Whatever, don't talk to me. So it was really me that cut off all the communication. But apparently one time he was walking into the trailer and I was walking out of the trailer, and I like laughed when I saw him, and then I kept walking or something. Which I don't feel like I would do, but he really vividly remembers
I don't feel
it.
like I would do.
Yeah,
He
and
says
then we
something
also
funny.
had a class at UCF together that semester because
Whoa.
we had similar majors,
Tough.
the same schedule because we were both interns. So I get to UCF the first day of class and I'm like, oh, I can't wait to be free of this, go to UCF, meet some friends. And then I see him waiting outside of like the door and I'm like, I'm going to die here, I think. So that was pretty good. But yeah, we didn't talk at all. Like, we weren't going to get back together. Like, it wasn't a thing. I was just like,
But then
bye.
you fast forward and you're
Fast
married.
forward. We're married, yeah. Which, I don't know. That'll probably come later.
Yeah,
More
let's
deets
talk about later.
that.
Because
Yeah.
everyone's, I'm Kaimana. I'm going to stay in my toxic
Yeah,
relationship.
no, not at all. It's not even a little bit like that.
Whoa. Okay. I've been through a couple of breakups in my life. The worst one, I dated a girl who will remain nameless. I dated her for 4 years.
That's a long time.
That's like I don't know, 4 years. And we dated, and pretty much, I mean, every week I would do like some of these elaborate date nights. I mean, I tried really, really hard with this girl. I was probably, it was probably the first time I was in love, I would say. And so we're dating, and then I get the call to become a worship pastor in Birmingham, Alabama. And so I'm like, this is awesome, you know, and it was going to be this guy who I've always admired. His name's Pat Schatzline. He's an evangelist, and it's a funny thing. My whole high school life, I was like, there's one person, an evangelist, what I aspired to be, one evangelist in the world that I would want to be underneath and learn how to do this. And out of nowhere, he calls me, and he's like, I want you to become my worship pastor. And I remember when he called me, I was like, this is not Pat Schatzline. See ya. I hung up on him. And so then he goes,
Did you really?
Yes. And then he's like, what? You don't believe me? Oh my gosh. And so then he calls. He goes, go to Johnny's phone. And I go to Pastor Johnny, is Pat Schatzline's number this? And he goes, yeah. I was like, oh my
Wow, that's
gosh.
crazy.
I have
You're famous.
spoken against the anointed. So then whatever. So I get the job. I go and I learned underneath him, and we're still dating at the time. But I remember, so, I mean, it was so dramatic, but I'm up there for almost a year or so. And as I'm up there, the car ride was, she rode with me up there. She had friends up there. So we rode up together. She stayed with me as I led worship on that first quote unquote Sunday of the worship pastor. And then, like, you want to talk about like movie scene dramatic, like just heart-wrenching was that goodbye at the airport.
Oh,
so
no.
like I don't know when I'm gonna see her again. We're at the airport, and she's, you know, dragging her little carry-on. I almost said a body. She's dragging a body from the Pirates. She's dragging her carry-on, and she's like, I mean, we're hugging, we're crying, and then like she's over there at the terminal, and I'm like looking through the glass, and I'm just there, and so then all of a sudden she's got to get on the plane, and we're like waving from like far away, and then she'd walk a little further, and she'd wave far away, and I'm just like a mess. So anyways, so she gets on the plane, she comes home, and there I am in Birmingham, Alabama, by myself. I
Yikes.
drive. Okay, so I don't have a place to live. I'm kind of staying in this guy's house, And then I call him and I go, hey, can you tell me, this is before we had GPS on our phone because I'm old, y'all. And anyways, but he's like, yeah, you got to get on this expressway. You got to get on this road. Here's where I live. And I think we figured it out. And I think there was GPS on the phone. Anyways, the reason I'm sharing that is because I go, okay, I finally get towards his house, which I'd only been there once the day before. And I get there, and the door is locked, okay?
Oh, no.
The door is locked, and so here I am. I have no idea where I'm in, a new city. The door is locked, so I call him. I go, hey, man, I'm outside your house. He goes, oh, I forgot. I'm at a Super Bowl party. Oh, okay. How long are Super Bowls? 19 hours.
Oh, my
so I'm like,
gosh.
oh, okay. When you coming home? In about 19 hours. Oh, so tomorrow. Okay, I'll just sit here. So there I am. I'm in my car. I decide to drive to a Walmart parking lot. Okay, so this time my girlfriend at the time, she's on her way home. I'm taking forever to tell the story.
You're okay.
Anyways, so she's flying home. She's still in the air. All of a sudden, I'm in the parking lot. I'm really emotional. I'm really upset. I feel, for the first time in my life, completely alone. And all of a sudden, her dad calls me on the phone. And I'm like, yes. Oh, finally, this man who is like a father figure to me. He's like, he loves me. This is going to be my father-in-law one day. He calls me and he tells me, he goes, hey, Jason, hey, I know this is a really tough time for you. I go, yeah, it is. I know, man. It's so good to hear you. And he goes, I just want you to know, though, my daughter has some large goals. I go, yeah, and I love them, and I came and I would support her, and I would help set up her shows with you, and we do gigs at coffee shops for 4 years, and I set up her sound system, and I put up her CDs or whatever. And so then he goes, and I know you like her and support her, but she's looking at moving on in really big ways with her career. I just want to make sure you don't do anything to mess that up. I was like, oh,
Wow.
okay. Didn't plan on it, Mr. Pirate. And then he's like, all of a sudden, he's like, yeah, I don't want you to mess this thing up. And I just hope you guys just know that this is a big deal. And basically, all right, thanks, bye.
Oh my gosh.
And he kind of hung up on me
getting
abruptly.
mad.
Nice
So then
phone
I'm
here.
like, okay, well, thanks.
Was that like unprompted? Or like
Unprompted.
she wanted him to call you? No, he just was like, okay, this is my daughter. I have to
He
call
kind
him.
of didn't like me at
After
all.
4 years, though?
After 4 years. How could you not like me? I'm adorable.
I honestly don't know how.
I don't know if
He
you could have
just-
prompted him to do that. I feel like
I don't think
they
she
were
did.
very like, I don't know.
Stage.
And
Yeah,
so
he would've said it, yeah.
He never really liked the whole like full-time quote unquote ministry thing, and whatever. So anyways, so then fast forward a couple months later, we're on the phone, and basically she calls me and she's like, it's over. It was a Wednesday night. I wrote a song about
At
it.
church?
Yeah, no, it was a Wednesday night. We didn't have midweek services
Oh, okay.
at this church. It was a church plant, but we had our worship practice, quote unquote, on Wednesday nights. So I drive home from a Wednesday night. I'm in my 1-bedroom apartment, completely alone. She basically calls, hey, this isn't going to work out. I go, okay, do we need to take a break? No, this is not going to work out at all. And I remember, I'm feeling these emotions all over again. And I just remember, like, we hung up on the phone, and I'm just laying on the floor of my apartment like I just got kicked by a horse in the stomach, and I'm like a big horse, a neighbor, and like a good like a good
Clydesdale.
neighbor. Anyways, a Clydesdale. So anyway, I'm laying on the floor. I am crying my eyes out like a complete wimp. I was wrecked. So then I'm trying to. So when you go through that, you're just kind of trying to think of all these things, and then you're looking at the old text messages.
Yeah,
you're
like,
looking,
did you know? Like, did you have a feeling
no,
at all? It was
no
like,
feeling. Well, the first feeling I had was when her dad called me and was like, hey,
Oh, right.
it's never going to work out. And I was like, thanks. Anyways, but that was basically it.
Jeez.
And I tried to, and then I wanted to be, I don't know. I didn't want to be like, obviously I was miles away from Orlando. I was in a city. I had no community. I had no friends. I had a couple guys that I was close to, but man, it was the hardest season of my life. And man, it was in that moment where I really go like, wow, like God, how valuable community is.
Yeah.
Because and like it was
Did
just.
you call anyone? Like, or you just?
I
it
think
was
I
just
called
you
my
soaked
best
it in
friend at the
yourself?
time. I called him, and then a couple months later, we ended up transitioning to coming back to here, and then I came on staff again, and I started. I was about 10 or almost. Well, I don't know how long ago that was, a while ago, and I started traveling then full time as an evangelist and doing stuff here at Mainstream. But man, it was so tough. And then the part comes where people are asking, and I almost feel like, in my opinion, like getting asked about the relationship hurts more than the breakup sometimes, because you're like, I just don't want to think about this for right now. Hey, how's your girlfriend? I was like, I don't have a girlfriend. I'm a loser.
It's
so
and let
worst.
everyone know, like you just have to go through.
And so she moves on, and she's moved on, and she's done incredible things. Powerful woman of God, inspirational, influencer woman. And I mean, obviously the rest of my story leads me to where I go, wow, this doesn't hurt anymore. And so when God did move me forward, when I did kind of get over it, I mean, that is the light at the end of the tunnel, the silver lining, if you will. But anyways, yeah, that was the hardest thing. I was completely alone, and yeah.
See, that's why I wanted to go first. I don't want to have to follow the good stories.
I don't even know. Honestly, I don't even know which one to talk about. It's funny how I'm like, yeah, I don't even know. But I chose this one particularly for whatever reason. I don't have a long drawn out story like Jason. His is like way more detailed and dramatic. But this relationship, the reason I want to talk about it was because it's probably my first serious relationship, and I have to admit I wasn't 100% in the relationship. I was just always kind of just distant and unsure, and just insecure, because it wasn't, if I was going to be honest, I was in the relationship because, I don't know, for super real, because I was lonely, because why not, because whatever. Like, if I was to be like for real, like, let me just do this because that's what people
Everyone's
are supposed to do.
Yeah.
I don't know. Like, obviously, I didn't analyze it at the time. I didn't really care. We just got closer and closer and closer. But deep down inside, like, I knew this person wasn't for me. Like, this person, he would make me cry more than smile. He would annoy me more than lift me up.
Yeah.
Like, it was just so horrible. But it was just hard to let go because, I don't know, there was just nobody else and nobody this, but it was so drawn out. Like, it was literally drawn out for maybe about 3 years. I can't tell you how many times we would break. Oh, and here's the thing though, like, when we would break up and then get back together, but honestly, we were never officially together. But once again, that's me. Like, I blame me. Yeah. So, like, even at the end, like the very, 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 very end, and I'll take responsibility for it, but he wasn't a very nice boyfriend. Like, it just wasn't. It wasn't for me. But I remember when it was for real over, because I remember going to his house and I thought, oh, it's over. Like, it's always over. Like, I just got used to it. I got used to, like, just having this toxic, I don't know. And, like, and none of it was, there was no abuse verbally and there was no abuse physically. It wasn't like that. There was no drugs. There was no sin. Like, and that's the weird thing. I think sometimes people think, well, it wasn't unequally yoked. I was still in church and still loving God, and so was he. But just because there wasn't sin doesn't mean there wasn't toxicity. Like, just because there wasn't sin doesn't mean it's like this person's for you. And I knew that he wasn't making me a better person. And I wasn't making him a better person, obviously. Right. Yeah, I was driving him crazy. And I remember this was like the last hurrah. And I remember I was looking at him and I don't know what. And I just remember, this is so weird, but I remember going, it's okay. And I went like that, and I just touched his arm, and then he went, and he just like flung my arm away. And I remember looking at him for the first time, and I knew, okay, like, this is over. This is done. And then I walked out, and that was it.
But a lot of, like, what you're describing, though, is very, like, movie-esque. And I think that's part of the reason why sometimes we stay in those, because it's like, I hate him so much that I love him. You know what I mean? And, like, in real life, it's like, no, that's not it,
Right.
It's immaturity, whether we're, 35 or 15, like, it's still maturity. And it was hard, because it was such a state of confusion for me, even though, like I said, I'll take responsibility for it because he was always willing to let's be serious, let's commit, let's whatever.
Right.
And I was like, no, but I know why. No, like,
Yeah.
I'm like, because I just know. I was like, you don't make me happy. You did, and in the
Yeah.
best way possible. Like, you don't bring out the best in me.
Yeah.
And there was just never any peace. Like, there was never the security. I see it. Like, I see the security. I always see, like, in Jamie and Pastor Johnny, like, when they talk, or even
Yeah.
my sister Lada, like, when she talks to
Right.
him, she's just like, she says things, and I literally will be like, really, you should say it. But there's just this
Yeah.
comfortableness, like, they're not going anywhere, I'm not going anywhere, we're here for life. And women, that is our number one need. We
Yeah.
talked about that last
Oh, yeah.
season. I'm like, it's security. It's having that, like, we're going to be there, no one's going anywhere. And I never had it. It was so, like, and you don't even realize it until you're out of the situation. You're like,
Yeah.
I'm never at peace. I was just like, what if he doesn't talk to me today? What if he ignores me today?
Right.
What if he blah, blah, blah? What if I do something to make him mad? Like, it was so, like, ugh, I want to vomit. It was just so horrible.
Yeah, those
Do
are
it.
those red flags that I think we get comfortable in those relationships. That's what leads to the toxic atmosphere. Like, when I was dating this girl, like, every single thing I thought had to be perfect.
Yeah.
Because my mindset, was that if things aren't perfect, the things or people I love leave. That was kind of my childhood. That was kind of
Yeah.
like the perspective I had. I think a lot of people who've come from divorce homes or maybe abusive homes, like, that's kind of the mentality is like, if things aren't perfect, the ones I love leave me or don't love me anymore.
Yeah.
And so I think sometimes our upbringing or our culture or our lives, they kind of make us comfortable with red flags. But, like, I can honestly say that when I was dating this girl, like, there were so many times where I was so, like, like, it was just hard, and she
Like,
didn't
you
get
didn't feel
ministry.
good?
Yeah, I didn't feel good, and she didn't get ministry. Like,
Yeah.
there'd be times where she'd come here and I'd be, like, pastoring or trying to take kids and counsel them or whatever, and she'd be just sitting in the back corner. I'm like, what are you doing, you lump? Like, let's love these kids. And so, I think those red flags are really easy to ignore. It's like, kind of like the blinking gas light in your car. You're like,
Yeah.
you can only ignore that for so long before you're really in a panic and
Right.
you're pulled over, stranded somewhere emotionally because you ignored the signs. So, yeah.
Yeah.
I've been
I
there.
agree.
How can you tell if you're in a relationship that is toxic?
I think, like, the number one way to tell is just your friends, like the people around you. I mean, it's almost
good.
foolproof, like, and if you don't have good friends, you already know that ahead of time. So, like,
Yeah.
some people are like, well, they don't understand. Well, I don't know if they want, the best for me. And I'm like, well, before you're in a relationship, you know which friends want the best for you, and then if for some reason you have friends that are toxic, like, that already, so, like, people start to get confused about, well, why is this friend telling me, even though that friend cares for you. So I would say, like, always your friends. They know months before they can tell you. They're probably talking about it behind your back because they're like, what a psycho, why are they still together, like, and when you bring them things, like, they're just like, oh, I'm shocked that happened, I can't believe it, and, like, they all can kind of predict what's happening. So that's one of my things is, like, your friends. If they are not on board, if they don't like this person, they probably just sense something that you maybe sense, but that you're like, I want to be with someone.
Yeah.
Like, that need in you overrides your common sense, like, they're like the little common sense on your shoulders. So that's one way that I always know.
Yeah.
But, like, girls never listen to their friends.
Yeah, I don't know why.
I don't know why. I'm like, God, Lord, why do you have this accountability thing?
Yeah.
But, like, I just feel like, I don't know if I've ever met a woman that's actually, when they're in that, hey, listen.
Yeah. No,
Like, I
no,
just
no
don't-
one does.
I've met guys that have. I literally,
Guys
like,
that have what?
that have listened.
Oh,
To
sure.
their friends.
That have been like, you know what?
We're
Okay,
used to
no
being
more.
told what to do.
Maybe.
Yeah.
I'm like, yeah, I probably should do that.
But you know what I'm saying? But,
Yeah.
like, as a whole, it's frustrating because I'm like, is there, like,
Yeah.
a magic spell?
I don't know why. I don't know why specifically girls don't listen to their friends, but a lot of it, like Jason was saying, like, a lot of it has to do with how you're raised and the certain, like, insecurities that you're brought up with that you never, I feel like there's a lot of things that we're messed up by that we do not understand until we're in a romantic relationship.
Yeah.
Like those things come to light and they're like, oh my gosh, I have so many daddy issues. And
Yeah.
like I've gone my whole life being successful, but now it's really coming to fruition. Like because I'm in this new level with this person. So part of it's that. I don't know. I think girls too, like just the competition thing's always there. Even if you like love them, even if they're like your even like sisters, like I feel like there's a sort of competition maybe. So that's why like in the back of someone's head, they feel like, oh, well, they just want me to be single because they are single or something. You know what I mean? I really don't know why girls don't listen, but those are some
I
guesses.
think with friendships, like we have to ask ourselves, is our inner circle truly our friends?
Right.
Like, are we really intimate with
Right.
them? And I think that might be the deeper reasoning or meaning inside that. Like, because guys do the same thing. Like, there's certain advice that you just don't want to hear at the time.
Yeah.
And maybe the fix for myself would just be like, I need to get closer to my inner circle where they know exactly. A lot of it is the aimlessness that is in our generation, in our world. Like so many people are just walking aimlessly, and they have no direction, they have no dreams, they have no vision, they have no person in their life that they've said, okay, this is where I'm going. And I heard somebody say, if you don't know what your goal is, or if you don't know what your vision is, it is so impossible to determine what a distraction is and what an opportunity is. If you're not clear on your vision, it is impossible to determine what is a distraction and what is an opportunity. And I think the more that we are open with our friends, we say, this is the vision for my life, this is where I'm going. And then, of course, when you get married, that inner circle shrinks significantly. But yeah, I think that might be some of the reasons why we don't feel like we can hear advice from our friends, because they don't know where we're going either.
Yeah, that's true.
With dating, I think I 100% agree with you. Your friends, you need to listen to that counsel. But the other thing is, it should be easy. I think dating should be easy. This is the easy part. Like, this is the easy part. It's easy because the consequences of a dating relationship ending in the grand scheme of life are
so
very,
small.
very small.
Yeah.
Like the ripple effects, they don't go too far. Now, let me be clear. Like godly dating, the consequences are very, very, very insignificant in the span of a lifetime. So I think dating should be easy. So a big red flag for me is like, if you're dating somebody and you're already needing counsel, I'm like, we need counseling. Okay, how long have you been married? We're not married.
Like, break
We're just
up.
dating. I was like, hold on. You're doing the fun part? This is the
Right.
easy part. This is the butterflies and romantic dinners and long walks on the beach. If that's stressing you out, that might be the gas light blinking a little bit. You're about to be stranded. So I think especially with high school students, with college students, I'm always noticing that, like, we need counseling. I'm like, this is the easiest part. This is the easiest part.
And I think like that what you're hitting on too is like another red flag is if you just don't, but you said it too, like you don't feel good when you're with them. I think that's so obvious, but again, I think that like we all have a weird interpretation of relationships, and we watch too much like Grey's Anatomy, and we think like, oh, we fight, so that means we're in love. Like, I don't know, like when it comes even to Gio, like dating and married, like I love to see him, like the things that annoy us about each other is like things that like I don't like when you leave the dish in the sink, like it's not like I don't like the core of who you are, we like that. It's like being roommates, and like I don't like how you do this, or I don't like this word that you say. It's like it's little things, and they're very little. Like it's not like building up. It's just kind of like, once you get married, you're so close. It's like family. So it's those little annoyances. It's not like you make me feel bad when I'm around you.
Or I don't like myself when I'm around you.
Or like I'm different when I'm around you, or like people say that they see me a certain way when I'm with you. Like all of that, I'm like, no. Good. Yeah, when you're dating, I'm like, just break up. That's because Pastor Carl's always like, it's better to be single wishing you were married than married wishing you were single. And that's true. Like, you have the choice to get out of this relationship. So
I think how you can tell a relationship is toxic. I'm with accountability also. Like your friends tell you, because you can genuinely, you have to accept the fact, and this only comes after, that's kind of why I shared like my first relationship, because the first one's the hardest. Like that first like breakup, and then after that you're like, oh, okay, I can get through this. You kind of just grow in like wisdom and maturity, like, okay, this isn't the end. Like there is a rainbow on the other side. It's going to be okay. You're going to be fine. You're going to find peace. But accountability, I'll never forget, which I think I've told you this before, but there was one time that I was arguing with the relationship I was talking about. I was arguing with him outside of the gym. And literally, I came inside for practice. I was a human video practice at the time. And I remember Jason, telling me, going, I don't like it when you talk to him because you don't act the same.
And he was your student.
And he was my student.
Yeah.
And I was floored.
Yeah.
I was literally floored. It was 3 words. It was not my accountability partner. It was like nothing. He was not my brother-in-law. He was not my friend at the time. And he said that to me as we were waiting there. And I was right outside of the gym. Came inside. And those words stuck to me.
Yeah.
And I was like, wow. And I received it. I literally was like, and that was the beginning of the end.
Yeah.
That was the point that I was like, okay, I cannot be this person. If someone who looks up to me is like, that's not who you are.
Yeah.
And cannot even recognize me. I was like, okay, I need to end this. And I just remember because it was just, I don't know, it was just kind of life-changing for me.
Right.
So it's crazy the times that we don't speak up when we should.
Yeah.
Because of most people that don't receive the rebuke.
Right.
But every once in a while, there's people who actually believe in the word, and it says a wise man loves rebuke. If this isn't right, then just like, let me know.
Yeah.
I think one of the big things, a personal check, we know relationship is toxic, is that there's no peace and you can't worship God. And I've noticed that in people. Like you can't genuinely like raise your hands and sing and partake in the general assembly. Even now, some people are at home. I'm like, and it's you're in a relationship that you shouldn't be in, and it's even extra hard to like enter in and to press in, because you have given everything else. You've given all to this person, so you don't have anything else to give to God.
Yeah.
You don't realize how much a toxic relationship is taxing to your soul.
Oh, yeah.
Like you don't get it. You only have a certain amount of love to give, of time to give, of resource to give. You only have a certain amount of passion dollars, and you end up spending it on the person plus also the extra stuff that's like hard,
right?
Because all the extra stuff that just adds to it, and then you only have a little bit left that you just can't. You cannot worship God. You can't do anything like that.
Yeah, I think that like part of that too is that, you know, even if it's not sin, we're not, you know, sexually sinning or whatever, it still is like deep down you understand like it's not what's best for you.
Yeah.
So God does have an opinion about it, you know, because like it's like parents, like they want what's the top best for you decision ever, and you're like, oh well, I can just do this, and your parents are just like, no, I want you to like have the happiest life and the best life, and I never want you to be sad, you know. And so like with God too, we kind of just have this little shield over that part of our lives, so then you can't you can't worship God when you're withholding anything. And I think part of it is that like we convince ourselves here, oh well, God probably doesn't care about it because I'm not sinning. But then when we're, you know, before God, we're very much like, no, I don't want to talk about that part, you know? And I think that withholds your worship too.
What do you guys think is the biggest myth concerning toxic relationships or toxic connections?
I think that it's this idea, well, this is a weird thing to say, but it's I think it's true. It's this idea that there's the one.
Okay.
The one, like think about how crazy that is, for the amount of pressure that has to be, because Hollywood and social media and the people that you're following, they're constantly spreading this idea that there are 7.5 billion people on the planet, and you have to literally find one. Like, imagine just the odds and the impossibility of that. And so I think that's one of the myths out there. And then the idea, when we see and perceive the one, quote unquote, all we think is, when I'm with this person, we'll have no problems. We'll have no struggles. We'll have no fights. And if we do have any struggles, or we do have a disagreement, or what do you want for dinner? Okay, say it at the same time. And you both say two different things. You're like, it's not the one. If we're the one. And so like this idea, like, I don't even think we know what the one is. And so one of the things that just constantly frustrates me about, and it's a thing that I've believed, I'm like, there has to be the one. I'm like, I think the only time that there was a one, this is my opinion, but I think the only time there was a one is when there was Adam and Eve. I think they were the ones for each other. But when we sin and when we struggle, God has to adjust our life so we find somebody compatible with your struggles. I think there's something to that, and I haven't thought that too deeply through, but I feel like what you need from a relationship changes in time. And I think that you have to continue to grow. The other thing I would say is the whole idea that happily ever after is effortlessly pursued. That is not true. Happily ever after, every movie ends and they happily ever after and they walk away. No, there's still obstacles to challenge, and they have to that challenge them. And so anyways, all throughout scripture we see this. Like, David just didn't walk around going, hey, I killed a lion and a bear today. No, God was like, great, that battle prepared you for a greater battle, and now you're going to slay a giant. And he didn't walk the rest of his life saying, I killed a giant. Then he went on to do other battles and win other victories. And so I think one of the things we have to remind ourselves is, like, this person I'm with, do they empower me to go and take on other challenges in life? Are they compatible with me to grow and become a better follower of Jesus? This is one thought I had. Are they encouraging you to have an eternal influence, pursue your life purpose? Are they deepening your devotion with your Creator and your dedication to be disciplined and commitment to continually change who you are to become a better person? So I think those are one of the biggest lies when it comes to romance and dating.
Yeah, I think that one lie, especially just for this age group, because everyone's kind of older, is like that getting married is going to fix it. Like, oh yeah, once we're married, he's not going to hang out with his friends as much. Once we're married, she's not going to be able to, spend this money. And I'm like, nothing really changes when you get married. Like, it's two of the same people. You're just living together now. You have to pay bills together. Like, there's nothing innate about the coming together of two people that fixes the problems. Usually the problems get worse, and things that you were able to kind of shake off because, you don't have to see them at the end of the day. You can't shake off anymore because you do see them at the end of the day, so I think people always think that oh, well, once we're engaged, well, once we get married, and I always tell couples, I'm like, no, it's not it. Like, marriage is great and it's awesome, but when you go in expecting marriage to fix a huge problem, a huge red flag, it's just not going to do it. I also think that people just feel like being in a toxic relationship is better than being alone. And I think that's a huge myth, because I think, it's different. Like, it's very toxic in the way you look at it, because it's like, well, at least I have someone to talk to and call and kiss and all that kind of stuff. But at what cost? So it's very that goes back to daddy issues and how you're raised and what you're seeing, because being alone is also awesome sometimes, whatever the year Gio and I were broken up, I was a first year intern. I made tons of friends I wouldn't have made if I had a boyfriend, because you really just kind of hang out with that person. I made tons of friends that I still have today. I stayed out at all hours of the night doing whatever I wanted to do. Not sinning, but I don't know, we would go to church at 2 a.m. and dance to car music. I don't know, in the car we would listen to Spanish music. I don't know, we would just I did whatever I wanted, because I didn't have a person to answer to. It was fun, and it was a nice time to enjoy life. And I think that then you go home and you feel lonely, but I don't know, there's some sort of disconnect between you and God too then, because you're kind of when I feel sad, I want someone to talk to. When I feel depressed, I need someone to comfort me. Whatever, and I'm like, oh, God's supposed to do all those things first, So I think that's a huge one, is people just forget that being alone, I get that it's not optimal, and especially at a certain point in your life, you're I just want to be with someone, all my friends are with someone, but man, to be in a relationship that hurts you just so that you're not alone at 10 o'clock at night when you need someone to call because you're sad, it's just, those aren't worth it, you know?
I think one of the biggest myths in toxic relationships, or once again in connections, and this is obviously, I know you said this, but it's has really nothing to do with blatant sin. We're not even talking about, it's oh, we're not in sin, so we're okay. I'm no, we get it. You're saved. It's fine. We're not even talking about that. We're talking about literally genuine people coming together, that maybe this isn't the person that makes you better, so it shouldn't be someone that you spend time with. I think one of the biggest myths is that you swear you're in control. You can have conversations with people and they're no, you're right. He's bad for me. She's bad for me. I don't like her. It's not going to work out. But I'm going to do it anyway. As if they are in control, like
Yeah.
like a drug addict almost.
Yeah.
Like I can stop whenever I want because I'm in control, and they don't realize even saying that, even that coming out of their mouth, they realize you have no control,
Right.
and the enemy is working overtime
Right.
to camouflage the purpose that God has in your life for you to think, okay, this is what I have now, because they don't realize they're
Yeah.
using all their purpose time trying to make that relationship
yeah.
into something that it was never meant to be.
Yeah.
Definition of beating a dead horse.
Yeah. Your
Hey neighbor.
Hey, neighbor.
I think that's absolutely true. Also, it's kind of funny. People don't realize it until they get out of those relationships, but like you honestly look really stupid. Like people don't
Yeah,
realize how
it's
stupid they
embarrassing.
look when they're in those relationships, because again, they feel like, well, I'm not going to take that. I'm not, when they're talking, they're telling you the right stuff. They're like, yeah,
Yeah.
well, if he says that, I'm going to dump him. Well, if she does that, then I'm not going to, whatever. And all your friends are like, okay, yeah, you go girl, but the truth is that, yeah, you can't end it. You can't get out of it. And you feel like, yeah, I'm bad. I'm like in control of this. And then when you break up and you're like, guys, it wasn't a good relationship. This, and this happened. Like no one, even a bystander, like no one's like, oh, I'm shocked. I thought it was perfect. Like everyone's like,
Your pets.
yeah, your pets are like, your dogs are like, I hated him. I just think it's funny because, yeah, everyone thinks they're keeping everything like kosher and like, oh yeah, no one can tell. But there's been 0 relationships.
But then that goes to like,
Yeah.
how valuable is my friends?
Right.
Do I value the opinions
Right.
of the people that are closest
they
to me?
don't. Like it's funny because you
Exactly.
said that, and I'm like, you know what? I know they could say whatever, but they
Right.
obviously don't. They obviously don't respect you
Yeah.
as a leader, as
Yeah.
a person, as whatever. So that stinks, because if you
Right.
can't even have platonic relationships,
Right.
how the heck are you going to have romantic relationships?
And I think that we all think we listen to our friends. Everyone thinks they do, and they're like,
Right.
well, if this person were to tell me that something is wrong, like we keep
Lies.
going up, like if the president, if
Trump
the queen,
emailed me right
if
now.
Queen Elizabeth says I shouldn't be, like we always think it's that, but then like the queen calls us and is like, you shouldn't be in this relationship, and then we're like, oh, I still want to be in it, bye.
Right.
And so I think we just think a lot of ourselves that we're really smart and in control and kind of the exception to all the
Yeah,
rules.
we are the exception.
And we aren't the exception. He's just not that into you. Watch it. It's a
true.
good movie.
why do people stay in toxic relationships or in toxic connections, toxic situations? Why do people stay?
I think a lot of it is just they don't trust God. I feel like they just don't trust God to really care and number how many hairs are on their head. That they don't trust God, who cares if a sparrow falls, that he cares. So many times we're trying to get from people what only God can give us. They think that this is all they're worthy of. Kaimana
Yeah,
kind of
that's a good
referenced
one.
that. They think this is all I'm worthy of. That I am only worthy of this broken, messy relationship, and that's just couldn't be further from the truth. So I think, I know that's kind of a star. I don't know if it's a hill I'll die on, but I think a lot of it lends to us just going, I can't trust God to take care of my life. He's
Yeah.
holding the entire universe together with his words. He probably can't figure out how to have a healthy relationship. And I really believe that.
I think that a lot of times people definitely, they don't trust God. They feel like this is my one chance at happiness, which is crazy to think.
But they would never say, it's not that I don't trust God.
Yeah, they're like, no, I don't think
know what
God,
God says, but-
like, right. Yeah,
I
I
just-
think they just don't. They think like, I have this one treasure, and if I lose it, I'm never gonna find anything like it again. But I also think people don't like to face themselves being alone, because like a lot of times when people are in toxic relationships, they go to another toxic relationship even if that one ends, and so then they skip along, or they just been in one for so long that they're just like, man, I don't know who, like, I think they're scared of who they are without that person. And as long as they have this person, they're focused on this person's flaws and what this person needs to
Yeah.
fix. They don't have to look at themselves in the mirror as who they are and really fix anything.
Well, it's kind of like that. What is that syllogism that it's in law? It's like the fruit of the poisonous tree. It's like, no, like if you don't deal with the roots of that are poisoned, you're always going to have poisonous fruits.
Yeah.
So like you have to uproot the wrong things and allow God to replant the healthy things in your life. And so many times I think we deal with the fruit of the problem instead of the root of the problem. And we're going, why do I keep getting back into this pattern? Why do I keep, finding guys or girls like this? And a lot of it is just from the brokenness on the inside of that person. And they're looking for they're looking for an outside situation to meet an internal need. And I think that's what continues them going in this destructive pattern.
I think that, and it does show the lack of trust, lack of relationship with God, because there's people they're afraid of being alone.
Yeah.
Because being alone is so much worse than this person making you
all the
cry
time.
every day.
Yeah.
Or being in this constant state of confusion. The Bible says that confusion is not of God.
Yeah.
Like he doesn't even exist in that.
Yeah.
So it's like, no, but my parents, there's pressure, and no this,
Right.
there's pressure, and blah, blah, blah. And it's so crazy if we're just kind of and just raw with ourselves to realize, man, like we're so afraid of this unknown of being alone that we literally will do anything, date anything, do whatever when we're supposed to be like living our best life because
Right.
Jesus is in control and because,
Right.
There's goodness in the land of the living. Like there's all these great things that we say, but we don't even attempt to act it out.
Right.
I feel like we don't even give God the choice to like bring the one, even if he was the one,
right.
because we're too busy in this, this mental state of abuse and constant like just poison.
Yeah, I think it's so funny, like, not funny, but, funny, that I was thinking the other day about all the, friendships of, like, in high school, like, this friend and this friend who always, it was like, everyone thought they were like the Ross and the Rachel, like I had several like friends in my friend group that were like that. And it was like, they broke up, they got back together. They broke up, they got back together. And so like the friendships have ended and moved on, whatever. I go back, it's been 10 years and I'm like, this person's married to someone else. And this person has dated 5 people since then. And this person, whatever. But in that moment, it was unimaginable that they wouldn't be together. And then all of that, all that baggage, all those tears, all the sin that eventually does come. And I'm like, you guys didn't even end up together. Like you got, you know what I mean?
And
like
how
you just
many
went
opportunities
on,
were lost?
Right. And
in the
like
middle of that?
how long you didn't come out and hang out with us. You didn't make new friendships. You didn't spend time with your family because you were trying to make this super horrible, broken thing work. And then 10 years, it doesn't even matter. So I think that's just crazy. People can't see 5 years into the future, 10 years into the future and be like, maybe my life is worth more than what's happening here,
And I think that underlines a lot of value to mentors. Like, so there's book smart, there's street smart, and then there's life experience smart. Like, you should often sit down with somebody who is at least 20 to 30 years older than you, because you've never been a 45-year-old man or woman, but they've been a 22, 19-year-old version of you. And so like all of us, like if I were to go back and talk to 15-year-old me, oh my gosh, the lessons that weren't learned in a book and weren't learned off somebody's opinion, but just life teaches you lessons. And then when you get around somebody who's got some gray hair and you're like, hey, tell me about when your relationship is like, yeah, I was an idiot. You shouldn't have done that.
Yeah.
And I was like, well, here's the good news. You can get life right the first time.
Yeah.
Like, you can get life right the first time. You don't have to have the same scars that I have. You don't have to have the same scars that we have. You can get life right the first time. One of my things that I always say about dating is I've solved it. But no, I really do believe it is this. Men, they don't know what they want, and girls struggle to know what they're worth.
Yeah.
I think that's kind of an overstatement, and I don't mean to paint with a broad brush, but I think a lot of it comes to that. And that's a lot of the immaturity in relationships that I see. It's like guys like, well, he doesn't know what he wants, but I think I'm the one. No, if he doesn't know what he wants,
He doesn't want
he's
you.
not the one.
Yeah.
Okay, and then girls, a lot of the times they struggle with that worth factor. Am I worthy of more? And you have to find Christ first. Like, we want God to bless every area of our life. We wanted to bless our career. We wanted to bless our finances. Every time Jesus showed up somewhere, something amazing was about to take place. Something incredible was about to be held. Like, I'm just like, why don't we get Jesus in every single situation in our lives? And even the order of Scripture, Adam and God. Adam was never alone. He was there with the Lord, and he walked with him in the cool of the day. And then, because Adam had a relationship with God and was doing what he was put on this planet to do, then all of a sudden, coincidentally, the perfect one for him came into being. I think there's a pattern there.
Yeah.
And I hope we live that way of faith.
Real quick, this kind of going off the outline a little bit, just because I'm just feeling it in my heart. Like, I feel like there's people probably watching right now going, yeah, but you don't understand. You don't get it. You're married. You're fine. You're married. You're fine. What do you have to say to that?
I always just like, so I used to sort of, when Gio and I would give advice and stuff and like share our story, I used to like be like, oh yeah, it was really tough, just to seem relatable.
Yeah.
Like, yeah, I know it's tough, whatever. And then I realized like a few years ago, I'm like, wow, that's actually like really hurting people, because I'm saying it's tough and then it's tough for them. So they're like, oh, I'm good, we're on the right track. So I started just being real and being like, you know what? Like, it wasn't hard. Like, we broke up and I was fine. I kind of repressed it. It came out in Encounter Day, but you know, I was fine. Like, I was good. I wasn't, you know, trying to go meet other guys and all this stuff. Like, I genuinely, I was like, you broke up with me, that's it, goodbye. And then I moved on, and I did
but
things
you were
with my
sad,
life.
and it's okay.
Yeah, and
to
I was
be
sad, and I lost some weight,
Yeah.
and it was great. Like, I, you know, fit into smaller clothes, and so. And I didn't like it. I didn't like how it felt.
Right,
I really
yeah.
was like, you know, I was like, like Gio and I had been friends forever, so I was like, finally, like we're like getting together, you know, and we're friends, so it's just gonna be magical. It's gonna work out. And so I'll say that. But then even when we got back together, we were interns together, and that wasn't hard. Like, a lot of people have talked to me, yeah, we're doing this together, and I'm like, you know what? If it's hard, break up, because it wasn't hard for us. We didn't struggle. We didn't, you know, like almost sin all the time. We didn't hate each other because we saw each other every day. None of that was true. It was easy. We needed accountability, and we had it, but we also never, like, I don't know, there was never red flags. Like, there was never, oh, I'm concerned about this. Oh, well, what about this? Our families, our friends, no one was ever like, oh, I don't like this. Like, I never had that conversation and then had to be like, yeah, I'll talk to him about that. You know, like, it worked. But I will say, like, in the year Gio and I were broken up, I think because we really broke up, we didn't talk to each other. We both, in our sadness, like, really turned to God. And so, like, I realized I had a ton of issues because of things I saw when I was, you know, growing up, and different adult relationships I was around, and things like that. And I think he realized too that, you know, there were other things in his life that he's like, oh, I don't want it to be like this. I don't want it to be like this. And so when we came back together, we weren't like perfect human beings, but so much of the reason we broke up before was just, it never came back up. Like, we never had that same fight. We never had that same struggle. We both were like, I know who I am, and I know I want to be with you. And so literally never, like, the day we got back together, he was like, I love you. I'm always going to love you. I don't even care. Like, whatever. And he was just, and so, and it never relented. Like, there was we never almost broke up. We never, you know, used that against each other. We never, like, brought up the past. Like, it wasn't anything like that. And we didn't sin, and we didn't take it too far, and we didn't make each other, you know, our whole world while we were dating, and we didn't say no to opportunities, even if it meant separating, because he lived in Missouri for a year.
Comment a little bit about that.
He lived in Missouri for a year because he was a worship pastor, and then I chose to stay here for a year and finish my third year of internship. And then even when those things were coming to a close, the plan.
So you were away for like a year.
Yeah, so we were literally like, long distance for a whole year. Because people at that point would be like, I'm not going to intern anymore. I'm going to quit ministry or whatever. Yeah, and I wasn't going to do that. Like, I won't say the thought came up, and I know, like, our plan was like, okay, well, when I graduate third year, I'm going to move to Missouri. I'm going to, you know, do whatever. You can be a worship pastor, this. And then as the year came to a close, I was like, you know what? I really feel like God wants me to be here. Yeah. And I promised, like, I had no idea how that was going to work out. And I remember telling Gio, like, yeah, I'm going to take this job at Mainstream. And he had no prospects. He wasn't getting a job at Mainstream 2. He didn't really know if he was coming
living
back.
in Missouri.
Yeah, he was still in Missouri. And so I knew, and it was kind of tough, and it, you know, hurt his feelings a little bit, but I was just like, listen, I can't move up there and work at Starbucks while you are a pastor. Like, I need to work here. I feel like I need to work here. And then we kind of switched places after that, because he was more like, let's just get married. And I was like, no, I want to do ministry. Then when he came back, he really felt like he was going to end up working here too, which no one does, because, like, there's no turnover here. Like, people stay here for 10, 20 years. There was no job opening for him, but he really felt it. And I then was the one that was like, just get a job somewhere. Let's get married. And that he kind of had to be like, no, Kaimana, stop it. Get behind me. Yeah. And so then once he did get a job here, whatever, we both, like, felt so much peace. Then we got engaged. Then we got married, and we both work together now in ministry. Like, we just didn't have to give up any pieces of ourselves. Like, we just kept adding to each other, and now we're married, and I'm really glad that I missed out on some of those experiences that other people had to become, you know, like, learned and how to date and stuff. Like, I'm glad I never went through that, even though lots of people made me feel kind of dumb for not going through those things. Now I'm like, Who's dumb now? You're dumb.
I think people watching right now, I think like I'm trying to think of if I was hearing this at, at 19 or 18 years old.
It's like you don't get it if I'm in a toxic
right.
relationship. That's why I wanted to talk about, like, in the year you guys were apart.
Yeah.
That it was just, but you both still chose God. But even Gio, I remember when Gio came back, was just like, no.
Yeah.
I remember he had a little crazy eye.
Yeah,
but
he was like
that
really
crazy,
determined.
Like, this is what's going to happen.
But it was because it was a God thing inside of him. Like it wasn't.
He wasn't putting you first. He was putting Jesus.
I was like, put me first.
No.
Get the ring. Let's go. Make 40,000. Working a customer
but
service job.
You going, I remember when you talked to me, where it's like, I want to stay here, and I was floored. I was like, why? I mean, what? And I remember you're like, no, like I feel like God wants me here.
Right.
Blah blah blah. I want to be college coordinator, blah, blah. You put it all out there. And I literally I was like, okay, let me get back to you. Because that was, I did not expect that conversation to happen at all. I was like, that's not going to happen, whatever. But it was just, I don't know, it was just crazy. But you did put God first, and God honored that.
And it works out that way. And I think sometimes we struggle with understanding this idea that our current perspective is the true perspective. And despite whatever situation or season you're in right now, like we might have all kinds of complicated different problems, but here's the good news: the answer is still the same. It's go to Jesus. Like I think some people, even with the whole like I need advice thing, this annoys me, and I don't want to go on a rabbit trail, but like, do you want advice, or do you just want me to tell you what you want to hear so you don't have to change anything in your life? Like you don't want advice. You just want to re-solidify your worldview or make me affirm it. But if I tell you something that's that challenges your worldview or challenges maybe who you are, you're going to go to somebody else. And people do that. That's what church hopping exists.
They know the right people to go to.
Yeah, it's like, let me go to the person. Let me go to social media. They're going to affirm my worldview. They're going to affirm my lifestyle. They're going to affirm it. They want it. So anyways, but for all the problems that you have, the answer is still the same. It is come to Jesus, give him everything. Yeah. And yes, you might be in a situation way worse than Kaimana's or myself or Pastor Sonia's, but Jesus is still the way. And let me tell you something. Your current perspective isn't always the right one. Like there were times when I was in that breakup that I was like, I'm never going to get married. Like I think there's probably times that we've all felt that way. It's like, wait a minute, I'm never going to find love. And like there was a time that was my current perspective. That was my current perspective. And I thought that was the whole world. Like there would never be a Lauda. There would never be a Jericho or a Zion. That I would never have a house. I had those emotions and I had those thoughts. But I'm not where I used to be. And I'm somewhere different now. And so my current perspective isn't the true perspective. Yeah. I think it just frustrates me because I know that if I was hearing this, I'd be like, you don't know what you're talking about. You're just,
they say it
but
all
it's
the time.
True. It's true.
Well,
and
sorry, go ahead.
No, that's it. Yeah.
Well, even on that note, I am not married. I can, when you're like, you don't know what you're talking about. And I'm like, oh, I actually do know what you're talking about. But I say this with the bottom of my heart. Like if I was to pick being alone right now or being in a toxic relationship alone, like you don't realize how messed up in the head you are.
Oh yeah.
How broken and how jacked up you are living your life. Like you don't realize like it stunts your growth.
Right.
Yes. I think that's one of the crazy things. You don't realize that it stunts your growth because you're connecting with a toxic connection. So you start continuing connecting those toxic connections so you can't grow. So you grow in pettiness.
Right.
You grow in manipulation. You grow in this false sense of independency. You grow in all this like hatred, bitterness. You're nasty. You don't even want to like have other friends because I'm like, why are you so quickly tempered? Like you make all these wrong connections and you're like, I love God. And I'm like, I can't tell.
Right.
I'm like, because the Jesus inside you has been stunted.
Yeah.
And yes. And this thing is too, like, I was talking to someone this past week. They're like, I'm sad, Pastor. I was like, I know. It stinks.
Right.
I don't know. It's the worst feeling in the world.
Right.
I've experienced a lot of feelings. There's nothing to heal that. And I think that people are like, well, because it's hurt. I'm like, yep, it hurts. It's
hurts,
sad.
though.
You're going to cry. I'm like, but that's okay. Like at some point it won't sting as much.
Right.
And at some point you won't think about it.
Right.
100%.
And like that's the truth. Like you get over it, but like the pain is normal. You just can't expect to not experience the pain. Like and us as believers thinking that we'll never experience pain it's so dumb.
Yeah.
You know, like scientifically, the same pain. I guess your brain processes pain the same.
Right.
So your brain doesn't know the difference whether you just got stabbed in the heart or you just got a broken heart.
Right.
It's the same. It's like, so like your brain's like wigging out, but
Right.
we need to be smarter than our brain. Like, okay, it's going to feel this horrible, but this too shall pass. Like we won't always have this pain, this situation.
Yeah. And I think that one thing that no one likes to admit to is you can't be in a toxic relationship and not become a toxic person. Like, that's what you've been saying. You know what I mean? Like, and you don't even realize it's happening. That's what's really scary. But, like, I promise you, the longer you're in that toxicity and that environment, the more your friends are probably pulling away from you and you don't even notice and you don't even care. The more, I think, as ministers, but even just Christians, like, one of the biggest casualties of a toxic relationship is our reputation. Not in that, like, oh, I want everyone to be my biggest fan, but in that, like, people don't respect you anymore. You know what I mean? People who used to come to you to advice, they're not gonna, because they can see, like, there's filth all over you, you know? And then your friends who used to be right here with you, like, they've moved on past you, you know? And so, like, again, it's that thing where we start looking so stupid and we don't even realize it, but we're giving up like our testimony and our influence in the kingdom because we are just bathing in toxic relationships and we're becoming that. And so I think like that's something I was never willing, you know, to compromise on, even in high school. Like I could just see it in people and I was just like, man, I always felt like that. I was like, I'd rather be alone than be in this, you know, like, and I knew it, and that's probably judgmental or whatever, but like looking back, I'm like, I'm glad I made that choice. And I know it sounds stupid because high school, but like, I don't know, the first person I kissed was Gio when I was 16, and I remember from like 12 to 16, everyone thought I was like a nun because I hadn't kissed anyone, and I'm like, how do you guys even find these people to kiss? Like, who are you? Where does this like kissing booth that you are going to? You know, and I realized too, I didn't even have guys that liked me. And if they did, I didn't know it because I wasn't flirty. I wasn't like, everyone thinks like, because I got married so young that it was all luck. But I'm like, no, I've always been like 47 in my heart though. Like I didn't make 15-year-old mistakes. I didn't make 16-year-old girl mistakes. Like when I was 16, I was already like, I'm going to buy a house one day. I'm going to have this one day. I'm going to get my degree early. So, you know what I mean? Like I don't want to be like, I made all the right choices, but it wasn't just luck thrown on my lap, you know, and it was choosing sometimes what would take longer but would be better in the end. And I can't help that I have like an old personality, you know, and like an old soul or whatever.
Can't help doing the right thing.
I can't help being perfect.
Some people I'm like,
that's true.
No, but if you make the right decisions,
right? And I'm like, you made a bad choice. I can't help that you made a bad choice, and so you need to go back and figure out what the root of that is. Like, it's fine. I'm not perfect either, but like, you make a good choice. Good. You make a bad choice, you probably have to go back and figure out where you went wrong.
You know, the good news is the theme of the Bible is redemption.
Right.
From Genesis to Revelation, it is people who lost their way and found Christ and found God. Like Moses was 80 years old. And you talk about daddy issues. Moses didn't even know his dad. Okay, he was thrown in a basket in a crocodile-infested river. Okay, and then he runs from God till he's 80 years old. So if you're sitting here watching this right now and going, well, great, I wish I would have known that 20 years ago. That was a lot of waste.
Do you think Moses knew he was Jewish?
Like
when he was adopted. I was reading. I just literally finished reading about him, and I'm like, does he know?
Did?
I don't know.
Because they had a look for the people.
Was he?
He had to look Jewish because he was protecting
an Egyptian. They
were different, but they were slaves. The Hebrew slaves. Did he know he was Hebraic? Hebrews coffee.
Hebrews coffee. I do.
And I don't know why that. Literally, I'm like, did he know?
I don't know. I think he did. I always lived my whole life. Thought he did.
But he got in there. But I
don't know if he knew he was adopted. I thought he didn't like the.
But the other way that they would.
He's like whatever. And then he ran off because he killed. He ran off as a murderer. I don't know if he knew. I am Jewish.
But the other way that they would tell themselves apart would be with what they wore.
But he was royal.
Right. So what they wore would tell them by classes and by even creeds that they followed, like their
Maybe
attire.
His mom was like, "Listen, you're adopted.
Maybe
it's fine."
I was trying to see try to understand.
But if they obviously they didn't. Well, I think the answer is they didn't know he was Jewish because they would have killed him because the creed.
So then his whole life he didn't think.
So you're wondering
Jewish.
But I'm saying maybe his mom just knew, and his mom told him, and
Hebrew.
like she was like, "Don't tell anyone." Yeah, because moms be like that.
Mysteries.
On that, okay. Just really quick. What advice would you give to someone right now who knows they need to socially distance themselves from someone, but they're afraid to?
I would just say that it's not God's plan for you to be alone forever. Like, if it's in your heart, then you want this and you want a relationship one day and you want to get married one day, like, and God hasn't expressly been like, no, you're going to be Paul, never get married. Like, I think that's his plan isn't forever. Like, but he really needs you to separate so that he can keep his plan going to bring you to that place, So I think just know that, like, God sees you. He understands that you're trusting him as you let go of this thing, and he's not freaked out, and he's not like, oh my gosh, no, I got to come up with a plan B. He's like waiting, because he's like, okay, 5 years down the road, I have, a situation waiting for you. I have this, and it's going to come together, and we're going to do some TLC on your soul, and we're going to fix this up, and then you're going to be, ready to go, and you're going to, things look different once you come to God and give him your junk. Like, people look different, and you look different. So, there's things ahead in the future for you.
That's so good. I think just make sure you're connected to someone who is going to set you free to run after everything God's placed you on this planet to do. I think maybe there's people in relationships right now that are like, well, what if I hurt their feelings? The question you have to ask yourself is like, well, what if you miss your destiny?
Yeah.
Like, what if I hurt their feelings, or what if I let them down, or what if I break up with this person and everybody around me hates me? I'm like, well, if they hate you, they really weren't for you at the beginning. So good news. You figured out who your real friends were. So find the ones that don't hate you and still love you, and get close to them. But, find new friends. I think I wrote this down for this idea, but if you're exposed to mediocrity long enough, that mediocre mindset will push you to live an ordinary life instead of an exceptional one. Yeah. And so if you don't get rid of the wrong people, you'll never find the right ones. So make sure you're regularly connecting with people who inspire you and make you better.
My advice is it's the best time to do it.
Yeah.
Because we're not allowed to go anywhere or do anything.
And I know you don't have to see them.
Extra sad, so you don't have to see them, but you're able to, like, really be at home and just have ice cream and watch TV and cry.
Sign me up.
And you don't have to go anywhere. So, like, it's kind of the best time to do it.
Yes.
So anyone out there, it's time to, like, socially distance.
Cut it.
Let's trust what the government is saying.
Yeah, FDA said we should break up.
CDC is like, break up with all unnecessary relationships.
Yes,
non-essentials.
That is
FDA.
important.
What is that?
The Federal Drug Administration.
That's what it is. Thanks,
FDA,
chlorophyll.
We shouldn't do drugs.
Amen. And you shouldn't be a pirate.
Okay. Before we're done, Pastor Jason, it's your first time here, so you get to pick a fortune cookie, and then we're going to call it what it means, what it means, what it means.
This is going to mean something special to me.
Oh, you're going to call your own cookie?
Oh, wait.
No, you can't put it down.
Wait, hold on.
It.
Sorry.
That's yours.
All right.
Yeah, it's special to you. Yeah.
Okay.
But we're going to say what it is.
Right. Oh, okay. Or you were going to pick it and give it to me.
No, you pick it.
All right. I'm terrified.
Can't touch it.
Do not touch my Corona. All right.
I don't know what to...
Speak over
Kia,
this.
you want to call it?
This has to do with... your... I don't know. I'm scared. I'm in between two.
Okay, just open it.
Is it gonna? It's gonna have to do with.
I need the rattling of the paper.
It has to do with red bug.
Red bugs.
Oh.
All right. An insect that doesn't blink. All right, here we go. I'm opening it up. It says. All right, hold on. Just kidding. Aim high, time flies.
Oh,
that's true.
Aim
high
for red bug, and time will fly by.
High, time flies. I like it.
Okay.
My life has been changed.
Thank you guys for joining us for episode 4. Thank you guys for being here. We'll see you next time.